Hi guys, this is Tina. Welcome back to my channel. So I'm here for another video in the little kind of series that we're doing on using books in your journals. So the last video we made this little piece using some children's book images. So that one is that one. So we'll just pop that to one side. So I thought what we'd do today is kind of look at how we can incorporate, you know, images like these types of things. So, you know, if you watch my channel, you'll know that, I mean, I just really do love kind of architecture and things. So, you know, these are kind of, for me, a bit of a kind of favourite thing to use. So this is using the children's encyclopedia that, you know, I kind of introduced in the last video. So I'm just tearing out a whole page of the Pictures of Ireland kind of pieces. And I mean, obviously, I don't want to use all of those. I mean, I wouldn't, for example, probably, you know, I mean, I wouldn't use this one here. I wouldn't use this one here. I probably wouldn't use that one. I would definitely use this. I mean, I absolutely love this picture. So I'm just going to cut that out. Like that. And I tend to cut them when they're quite small like this. You know, I tend to cut them rather than obviously tear them because, you know, they're quite small. So you haven't really got kind of much room for making a mess of tearing it, if you see what I mean. So that's the reason that I tend to obviously tear them out rather than, cut them out rather than tear them. So, I mean, actually it fits perfectly on there, but I'm not going to use it on there. What you can do is obviously just get some just text kind of book page. Oh, that was the other thing that I did forget to say was actually in those encyclopedias, the pages where they don't really have images that I like, I just use the pages for text. So, you know, that's a brilliant way of obviously just having plenty of, you know, text to use in your journals. So I did forget to kind of mention that the other day. So yeah, just something else to kind of bear in mind is that, you know, when there's not necessarily images that you kind of want to use, just use the text. You know, it's just as good. So let's have a look. Don't think I'm going to be able to get that out of there unless I have it lopsided, which, or, you know, sideways on, which I don't necessarily want. Look here. I'm just looking to kind of put a mat on this really. Let me find one where it's going to kind of look okay. No, I'm not going to be able to. So let me just tear out another sheet with a kind of more condensed text. So, you know, again, just use a page with lots of text on it. And then you can just kind of pop that down. I mean, again, you know, these are just children's encyclopedias. There shouldn't be anything kind of too offensive or anything. But I mean, obviously they do sometimes have the odd thing that, you know, could be kind of, you know, taken wrongly, I guess, by some people. So, you know, it's just kind of worth bearing in mind because obviously there are kind of sections on religion and, you know, war and things like that, you know, and actually even kind of the nature sections. I've sometimes kind of used the text and then spotted it's got, you know, the word kill kind of just really kind of prominent in the piece that I've used because it's talking about, you know, when the lions kill their prey or something like that. And yeah, so just I guess something else to be a little bit aware of. Right. So I'm just going to kind of cut around this. And I mean, this, you know, this is just kind of one example of, you know, a use for these pieces. Hopefully we will have time in this video to do this tiny envelope as well. So I'm just going to pop that to one side. Now, I've bought in some background page. This is from my lovely Lilacs background pages and ephemera piece kit. And I just thought it went really nicely with these kind of building images, which again, kind of on first glimpse, you wouldn't necessarily, you know, marry the two together. But for me, I just think they look really good on there. You know, they, yeah, just look really pretty. So just want to kind of select, do I want it kind of over here to the side where, you know, I'm only going to just cut it like this kind of thing. Do I want to kind of have it like that, or do I want to have it more, you know, just with flowers kind of surrounding it? I think it looks pretty nice either way, to be perfectly honest. So I don't think it kind of matters too much. Perhaps we'll have it. Perhaps we'll have it like that. Just cut from the centre bit. What do you think? No, I'm going to go for this bit down here. So we're just going to cut that like that. Cut it across. And again, you know, I'm really not kind of taking too much notice of how I'm cutting this or anything. You know, we just want to kind of get a sort of shape and size that we're happy with. So obviously this is far too long, you know, to go in across a page. So I just need to decide now to cut it down either this end or this end. So again, I'm just kind of moving my piece to see how I'm kind of happiest with it. I'm going to cut it this end. And what you could do is obviously kind of fold it over, which obviously helps to, you know, make your piece slightly thicker. So, you know, perhaps we'll just kind of do that. And then I just need to kind of reinforce it here, which again, you know, we could actually kind of do that whilst doing the video. Well, in fact, I'm going to tear that piece off. So get rid of that. And, you know, I'm just doing it here exactly to show you exactly kind of the process that I would kind of use. So, again, just kind of glue it across. Again, this is where, you know, if you've got your sewing machine, you know, to hand, then you can by all means use a sewing machine. You know, you don't have to glue it. You could glue it and then stitch around it, you know. It's just that my sewing machine, you know, as you know, is downstairs. So it's not really kind of conducive for me to be stopping and starting the video every 5 minutes to kind of go down and do things like that. So, and to be perfectly honest, you know, I think things look just as good glued. I don't think, you know, I don't think you need to sew them. I mean, I think the sewing looks lovely sometimes, and I think, you know, it sometimes I actually wish I hadn't sewed things. You know, I've sometimes stitched around things and thought, oh, looked better before. So, you know, like with all these things, it's no guarantee that just because it's stitched it's going to look any better. You know, sometimes it actually maybe ruins it. Right. So I love how that looks. Just, you know, just love that even now without doing anything more to it. But obviously I am going to do more to it. So just going to take in a kind of scrap page here. Just dab off my ink pad, which, can you believe I still haven't changed this? So I'm still persevering with that same awful one that's, you know, just coming off, but never mind. I'm going to take my vintage photo and I quite like to, again, rough this up a bit like I do with my tags. Now obviously this is finished book page and it is very prone to tearing. Personally, I don't mind that. I think it kind of adds to the, you know, the vintage rustic kind of look, and that's the look I'm trying to kind of achieve here. So I'm more than happy, you know, with those tears. They don't spoil it for me, but I mean obviously they maybe would, you know, for some people. So just kind of be aware, if you're roughing up kind of book page, it's going to be, you know, pretty prone to tearing. So you may or may not want to do that. So that's that piece there. And then I'm just going to rough around the edge of the kind of base piece as well. So just rough that up. Obviously this is a little bit wet at the moment because where I've just obviously glued it. Okay, so I just ink around there. Just so as we've got the kind of same grungy kind of feel going on with the background page as we have with the piece that we're gluing on, obviously. Oops. And obviously, you know, up to you kind of how grungy you go with this. So there we go. So depending on where I'm going to glue that. Okay, so it's going to go there, so I might want to just kind of make that look a little bit grungier still. Okay. So, you know, for me, I think that just looks lovely, you know, just as it is. I don't even think it kind of needs much else on there, but obviously I will put more things on there because, you know, they just wouldn't be much fun kind of without more things. So again, I've got some lace here, so we could put some lace on. I'm just going to see which colour lace that we would prefer. I mean, that's quite nice, but unfortunately that's quite a kind of wide strip. And it seems a bit extravagant to actually trim that down, you know, purely for this. So let me just see what other lace I've got in my little tiny bag beside me. I've got some more of that gorgeous lace, the crochet lace that Laura gifted me, that it just always looks lovely on everything, I think. So we could have that one, or perhaps we'll have that. So again, I'm just going to kind of just distress that slightly, so that also has got a really grungy kind of finish. Oops. So I'm going to pop that there, pop that on there, then we may want to have a little bit of diamante or something to the side. And then, so I just cut that down. Oops. And then you could always decorate it up with sort of some butterflies or something like that. So, or some flowers, or, you know, something similar. So I'm just having a look to see what things I've got laying around on my desk. Got here a little butterfly. Well, it's not really that little, it's pretty huge, but oddly, you know, I quite like that. I think that kind of works in this strange kind of way that, you know, it shouldn't work, but for some reason it kind of does. So we could have that. I've got some tickets here, so we could have a little ticket. Just cut those out. Oops. I mean, that's quite nice, isn't it? So, I mean, it's just kind of building it up, really, you know, with some odds and ends, and, you know, until you get kind of a look that you're happy with. So, I mean, I quite like that kind of butterfly just poking out with like half a wing. So I'm going to cut that like that. So I'm going to glue that down. And obviously I could have just glued that underneath that piece, but I was just being stingy and thought, you know, if I cut it in half, obviously I can use the other half somewhere along the line, you know, on something else. So that's kind of the only reason I did that. Just to be stingy and kind of maximise my pieces, really. There we go. We can kind of pop that ticket there to the side. So I'm just going to glue the lace down. Again, just use that kind of fabric glue. Like that. Whoa. And then just take my diamond here, and I just hot glue this down because it's just nice and fast, and then I don't have to worry about it drying or anything whilst I'm filming. Okay, so we've got that. Now I'm just deciding, do we want to actually pop this ticket on a piece of lace? So I'll just bring this lace back. Yeah, I'll do that. So just trim around that. So that looks really nice, doesn't it? So just again, bring in that fabric glue, just pop some down there like that, and take my ticket. Okay, so really cute. Really cute. I mean, I just really do love those kind of beautiful looking buildings, and you know, I mean, I think they would look lovely however they were, to be honest, just because they're such stunning buildings, aren't they? So you know, there's something about them that I just absolutely love. But so that's that piece. I'm going to kind of pop that to one side. Hopefully I'm going to kind of flatten it down, actually put something on it to kind of weigh it down so that that fabric glue kind of holds that in place. So the other thing that I was hoping we would have time for was to do that tiny envelope, which now I just popped it to one side and already that's disappeared. So hold on 2 moments while I bring it back. Right. So we've got that. Then got our images again. So I'm going to go for this one, which is that high street image. And I mean, obviously this is not the high street as we know it, filled with all the you know, Poundland and things like that. This is a much more elegant looking high street back in Victorian times. So if I just kind of show you, because I know that obviously that's pretty tiny. So, you know, you've got all the nice tram and things like that. So really pretty. So we can have that like that. And again, we can back it onto some kind of text page, which, can you believe I have now... Oh, what have I done with the text page now? See, there are just times when having your desk in such a mess is not really overly helpful. So I might trim this down slightly smaller because obviously, you know, it is going on quite a tiny envelope. Might cut it here. Just move it over slightly. Let me just get rid of that bit. Okay. So I'm just going to kind of pop that down. Again, let me find kind of, okay, so, you know, and you don't have to obviously back this onto the text, you know, the book page. I mean, I just quite like doing that sometimes, but I mean, of course you don't have to do that. You know, it's just something I quite like doing with these types of images. So we just cut that around like that. And I mean, I've taken that quite next to it, because again, it's obviously just going on that tiny area here on this envelope. So like that. So what we could do, you know, what I would kind of like to do, if I were using this in that same journal, I would probably want to kind of marry it with something from the same pieces, so that I just had a little bit of kind of continuity going on. So I don't know how this is going to look, but we could just kind of tear around here and just have a little kind of torn piece. You know, this is just obviously that piece that I kind of tore off, just so as it kind of marries the two pieces together really. And I'm going to just tear it down there as well, because otherwise it's you know, you can see it's very kind of straight behind the image, so we can have it kind of like that. So again, I'm going to rough this piece up just slightly. Oops. So I hope everyone's having a good day. Hope you're getting some crafting in. If you're you know, trying to source some of these books that we're using, or that I've been using, I hope that you've managed to get some. I mean, as I say, those children's encyclopedias, you know, I have seen them several times over here in the UK, so they must be reasonably easy to get over here. And I'm sure in other parts of the world, you know, you've probably got your own versions, but very similar, I would imagine. They're just great because they have such a good variety of subjects in them. So, you know, they kind of like go on and on and on, and obviously they're really thick. So you've got a lot of, you know, images in them to use. So that's that. Looks really nice. And then obviously you could do a little bit of stamping or something like that. So again, I'm just going to take my black ink pad, which when I actually find it, hold on. Okay, got my black ink pad, and I'm going to just use my favourite stamp, text stamp, and just stamp, sorry, a little bit of text kind of around it. I'm just going to kind of pop a bit there as well, and a bit here, because if it's just paper clipped in rather than glued in, just so you've got kind of a little bit of interest going on the other side as well. Oops. You could have that like that. And actually what I should have done was dug out a little postage stamp. So hold on. Right, so all I've done is dug out here a little vintage postage stamp. So what I'm going to do is just clear up my workspace slightly. I'm going to glue this one down. Kind of like that. And then we're going to glue this one down here. And then just going to take my vintage postage stamp and just pop that on here, just kind of right in the corner. I don't want it kind of too straight or anything like that, so I'll just kind of glue that down. Even kind of like that. Okay, like that. And then again, a bit like we did on our faux postage stamps, just got my postmark stamp here. I'm going to just stamp that over. So I'm just to check it's like how it's coming out. Okay, like that. And that just changes the whole look of it, doesn't it? it just kind of, I don't know, just makes it look kind of more authentic somehow, having that postage mark on there. I must say I do absolutely love stamps. Always, my whole time of being a crafter, my favourite things to buy has always been, you know, the patterned papers. I have a weak spot for patterned papers, and stamps. I just think value for money, the papers and the stamps, you know, I mean, even when the papers are quite expensive, you know, you do get a lot of papers normally. But the stamps especially, I mean, they're just amazing, aren't they? Amazing value. So yeah, they've always kind of been my favourite things to buy. I'm just having a look to see whether I've got my little Martha Stewart butterflies anywhere. I don't see them anywhere. Hold on. Can't actually see them anywhere, which is a bit annoying. I've got these butterflies here, but they might be a bit too big, so let's just cut one out and see. Yeah, I can remember, I mean, the last time I went to America, it was a really long time ago. I mean, I'm talking years ago, but I had such a whale of a time. I mean, unfortunately, paper is very heavy, isn't it? So, you know, I couldn't buy too much, although I did try and not overly take too much stuff with us in the first place, so I have plenty of kind of space in the case and plenty of weight left in the case. But the paper pads were so cheap. Oh, I mean, unfortunately I didn't get to a Hobby Lobby. I just went in Michael's and Joann's, but oh my gosh, they were so cheap, and every time I bought something they were giving me vouchers, you know, 50% off my next item, or, you know, sometimes like crazy amounts off of my entire trolley. And even when those things were already reduced, you still got the coupon off. So I think it worked out that paper pads that over here were about you know, £14.99, sometimes even as much as £20 over here, had started over there at things like, say, $9.99, then they were like half price on the shelf, and then you got a 50% off, you know, coupon. And so when you got to the till, they were like $2.50, which actually at the time was, say, like £2, and we were paying £20 over here. So it was unbelievable, the saving. It wasn't kind of a small amount, it was huge. So yeah, I would have loved to have bought up kind of the entire shop's worth of paper, but unfortunately, obviously, because it was quite heavy, I was kind of limited in how much paper I could actually bring back. But I did bring as much as I possibly could. So yeah, lucky people who have those bargain shops. I overheard someone saying the other day on their channel, you know, if only we could get, I mean, she actually, I think, said Hobby Lobby, which, as I say, I've never been in a Hobby Lobby, but if only we could get a Joann's or a Michael's, my gosh, you know, our craft store, Hobbycraft, they would not really know themselves, because they very rarely have offers. Right, okay. So we'll have a look and see kind of the couple of bits that we have made using our book page images. So we've made this one here, which obviously, again, I would just kind of use that as a little kind of tuck spot or a pocket on a page. And it just looks so pretty, doesn't it? And then obviously, you know, you could just tuck in your journaling cards up here. And then you've got this little envelope, which again, you know, you could just kind of glue it on a page and use it as a kind of tuck spot. Or obviously you could just kind of paper clip it on and, you know, move it around in your book. So, you know, just gorgeous, gorgeous images, and just, you know, using those lovely, lovely images from the Children's Encyclopedia images. So, you know, just, yeah, really, really lovely. So hope that you enjoyed the video, and if you're kind of making some bits and pieces with your book images, or if you're sourcing the books or anything, hope that you're having fun. And I'll see you all again next time. Thanks for watching. Bye.